The morning air in Los Angeles, California, carried a crisp chill, but inside Regal Wardrobe, an exclusive high-end boutique, business was warming up. The store, known for its luxury designer clothing and elite clientele, had a strict image to maintain. At least that's how Serena, the lead saleswoman, saw it. She prided herself on her ability to spot the right kind of customers, people who, in her mind, fit the brand's upscale reputation. As she stood near the accessory counter, arranging silk scarves with precise care, the store's entrance bell chimed. Instinctively, she turned toward the door, her well-practiced smile in place. But the moment her eyes landed on the man who had just entered, her expression faltered. He was tall, rugged-looking, dressed simply in a polo shirt, jeans, and, most notably, a bright red MAGA hat. He walked in with the slow, confident stride of a man who had seen a lot in his lifetime, his weathered features calm yet commanding. His presence sent a ripple through the boutique. Some customers stole quick glances, while others pretended not to notice. Serena's gaze sharpened as she scanned him from head to toe, her mind racing. "What is he doing here?" she thought, feeling a surge of irritation. This wasn't the kind of clientele she wanted in the boutique. At least, that's what she told herself. Turning to her co-worker Maya, she muttered under her breath, "Are you serious? Does he really think this store is for people like him?" Maya hesitated, nervously shifting her weight from one foot to the other, but said nothing. Unlike Serena, she wasn't so quick to judge. Determined to handle the situation, Serena straightened her blazer and strode toward the man. Her heels clicked sharply against the polished marble floor, signaling to the entire store that she meant business. With a polite but firm voice, she said, "Excuse me, sir. I don't know if you're aware, but we have a certain dress code here. We like to maintain a sophisticated environment, and, well, your hat doesn't quite fit our brand." The man looked up from the navy blue blazer he had been inspecting, his face impassive yet sharp, like someone who had heard this kind of thing before. Then, in a low, measured voice, Clint Eastwood responded. "Oh? I wasn't aware there was a dress code for hats," he said, his piercing eyes meeting hers. "I'm just looking around. Won't be long." His tone was calm. Too calm. Serena, feeling like he was mocking her with his indifference, crossed her arms. "It's not just about hats, sir. We create an experience here where customers feel comfortable. And frankly, some people might find that hat of yours uncomfortable." A tense silence fell between them. Clint, ever the picture of composure, studied her for a moment before replying. "I didn't realize my hat had so much power in a place like this. But if browsing is a problem, I'll leave." His voice held no anger, no defensiveness, just calm authority, as if he had already decided this wasn't worth his time. Serena, mistaking his quiet reaction for defeat, nodded in satisfaction. "That would be best," she said coolly. With one last look around the boutique, Clint adjusted his hat, gave a small, knowing smirk, and walked out the door. As he stepped onto the bustling city street, the boutique's atmosphere seemed to settle again, or so Serena thought. She returned to arranging the scarves, feeling a sense of accomplishment. But what she didn't know was that her decision to kick out this particular man would come back to haunt her in ways she could never have imagined. As Clint Eastwood walked down the bustling streets of Los Angeles, his expression remained unreadable. He had been judged before. Hell, he'd been through more in his lifetime than some of these people could even imagine. This wasn't about a hat. It wasn't even about the boutique. It was about something bigger, the way people were so quick to assume, so quick to judge. But he wasn't angry. Not yet, at least. Instead, he was curious. How many customers had been treated this way in this store? How many people had been judged before they even had a chance to prove who they were? The thought stayed with him as he walked toward his next appointment. Meanwhile, back inside Regal Wardrobe, the air was tense. Although Serena had returned to her usual duties, something felt off. The usual buzz of conversation in the boutique had dimmed, and the few remaining customers seemed more focused on their shopping than usual, as if they were pretending they hadn't witnessed what had just happened. Near the checkout counter, Maya stood frozen, her face pale. Unlike Serena, she hadn't dismissed the man so quickly. In fact, something about him seemed familiar. Then, like a bolt of lightning, it hit her. Oh no. That was Clint Eastwood. Her mind raced back to the staff meeting just last week. The meeting where their store manager, Catherine, had gathered the employees to discuss new corporate ownership. The boutique had recently been purchased by an investor, someone with deep pockets and a reputation for showing up unannounced to assess his stores. That man was Clint Eastwood. Panic gripped her chest. She hesitated, debating whether she should say something. Should she warn Serena? But before she could gather the courage, the front door swung open again, and this time it was Catherine, their manager, returning from a corporate meeting downtown. Catherine had been out all morning, handling discussions about upcoming changes and store performance. As she stepped inside, she instantly picked up on the strange atmosphere. She scanned the store with a keen eye, sensing the tension in the air. "Busy morning?" she asked casually. Serena, still feeling proud of herself for handling what she saw as a problem customer, shrugged. "Just the usual crowd," she replied nonchalantly. Then, smirking, she added, "Oh, but we did have an interesting visitor earlier." Catherine raised an eyebrow. "Interesting? How so?" Serena waved a hand dismissively. "Some guy walked in wearing one of those MAGA hats. I asked him to leave. This isn't the kind of place that caters to that crowd." Catherine froze. Her entire body stiffened, her expression shifting from mild curiosity to something much sharper, something closer to panic. She took a slow step forward, her eyes darkening. "You did what?" Serena, sensing the shift in tone, hesitated. "I asked him to leave," she repeated, suddenly feeling less confident. "I mean, come on, Catherine. We have a reputation to uphold. He didn't belong here." Catherine's face drained of color as she whipped out her phone, frantically scrolling through her emails. Within seconds, she found exactly what she feared. She turned the screen toward Serena, her hands visibly shaking. There, in bold, capital letters, was the corporate announcement from last week. "Welcome our new investor, Clint Eastwood." Serena's stomach dropped. Her breath caught in her throat. No way. That couldn't have been him. But the description, the tall frame, the commanding presence, the piercing gaze, it all fit. Catherine's voice, now low and icy, cut through the air. "Tell me you're joking." Serena's lips parted, but no words came out. Maya, still standing nearby, let out a small, shaky whisper. "It was him. I recognized him, but I realized too late." Catherine's jaw clenched. "You just kicked out the man who owns this store." Serena's entire world seemed to tilt. She felt her knees go weak, her heart pounding so hard she thought she might pass out. No, this wasn't happening. Catherine took a deep, steadying breath, trying to regain her composure. Then, her voice sharp and clipped, she said, Pray he doesn't come back, because if he does, you're going to regret it." The store had never felt this silent before. Catherine's words still hung in the air like a death sentence, and Serena could feel the weight of her mistake crushing her chest. I kicked out Clint Eastwood. It didn't seem real. A legend, a Hollywood icon, the new owner of Regal Wardrobe, and I treated him like he was beneath this place. She wanted to run, to hide, but there was nowhere to go. And then it happened. The doorbell chimed again. The entire store seemed to hold its breath as Clint Eastwood stepped back inside. This time, there was no mistaking his deliberate confidence. He walked in like he owned the place, because, well, he did. Serena went pale. Her pulse pounded in her ears, and she instinctively took a small step back. Catherine immediately rushed forward, her voice overly bright, desperate to salvage the situation. "Mr. Eastwood," she greeted, forcing a smile. "Welcome back. We're honored to have you here." Clint's gaze swept across the room, but he wasn't looking for Catherine. He was looking for Serena. His sharp, steel-blue eyes locked onto her, pinning her to the spot. She felt paralyzed, as if the weight of her actions was finally sinking in, dragging her under like a rip current she couldn't escape. With that same calm, steady voice, Clint finally spoke. "You must be Serena." A lump formed in her throat. She barely managed to whisper, "Yes, sir." Clint gave a slow nod, then gestured toward the plush seating area near the fitting rooms. "Why don't we sit down?" Catherine opened her mouth, about to intervene, but Clint held up a hand, stopping her. "I'd like to handle this myself." The entire store fell silent. Even the customers, some who had witnessed the earlier incident, were watching intently now. Serena swallowed hard, forcing her legs to move as she followed Clint toward the seating area. Her mind raced, grasping for any excuse, any explanation that might fix what she had done. But deep down, she knew. There was no talking her way out of this one. They sat across from each other, Clint calm and composed, Serena on the verge of a breakdown. Clint set his MAGA hat on the glass table between them. The simple motion was deliberate. It wasn't just a hat anymore. It was a symbol of the snap judgment she had made. A symbol of why she was sitting here right now, feeling like she was about to lose everything. Clint leaned forward slightly, his piercing gaze never wavering. "Serena, why don't you tell me what happened earlier?" Her mouth was dry as sandpaper. She hesitated, trying to find the right words. I didn't know who you were." Clint tilted his head slightly, his expression unreadable. "And if you had?" She blinked. The question hit harder than she expected. If she had known, would she have treated him differently? Would she have welcomed him with a smile, rolled out the red carpet? The realization made her stomach churn. Clint leaned back in his chair, studying her reaction. "Let's forget for a moment that I owned this store." Serena stiffened. "Let's say I was just a regular customer. Why did you decide that I didn't belong here?" She flushed with embarrassment. He's giving me a chance to be honest. She took a deep breath. "I just assumed. I thought the hat might offend some of our customers." Clint nodded as if he had expected that answer. Then he asked the killer question. "Did anyone actually complain, or was that just your assumption?" Serena felt like she had been punched in the gut. The truth was staring her in the face, and she had no choice but to admit it. "It was just my assumption," she said, barely above a whisper. Clint didn't react right away. He let the silence linger, letting her sit in her own discomfort. Finally, he spoke again. "You see, Serena, I visit my stores unannounced for a reason. Her chest tightened. I want to see how customers are treated, no matter who they are or what they wear. Her face burned with shame. Clint continued. Today, I learned something important about how this store operates. She lowered her head, feeling the weight of his words. This isn't just about me. It's about how quickly you judged me. You made a decision about who I was before you even knew me. And that's a dangerous mindset, especially in a place like this. Serena nodded, unable to meet his gaze. Then, in a moment of unexpected kindness, Clint's voice softened slightly. Mistakes happen, Serena. She looked up, her eyes wide with surprise. What matters is how you handle them moving forward. A small wave of relief washed over her, but she wasn't out of the woods yet. Clint turned to Catherine, who had been watching anxiously from a distance. Starting next week, I want every employee in this store enrolled in mandatory customer service training. Catherine nodded quickly. Absolutely, sir. I'll set it up right away. Clint stood up, picking up his MAGA hat and placing it firmly back on his head. And, Serena, he added, I expect you to lead by example. She sucked in a sharp breath. Lead by example? He wasn't firing her? He was giving her a second chance? Clint turned toward the exit, but before leaving, he glanced back over his shoulder. One more thing. She braced herself. I believe in second chances, Serena. Don't make me regret giving you one. Then, just like that, he was gone. The moment the door closed, Serena exhaled, finally releasing the breath she had been holding. Catherine let out a long sigh of relief, wiping her forehead. Well, that could have been worse. Serena just nodded, feeling completely drained. She had dodged a bullet today, but deep down, she knew this wasn't over. Because now, Clint Eastwood would be watching, and this time, she wouldn't get a second chance. The days following Clint Eastwood's visit were some of the most humbling of Serena's career. The boutique, usually bustling with laughter and conversation, now carried an underlying tension. A reminder that their owner had seen firsthand how judgmental attitudes could stain the store's reputation. For Serena, the realization cut deep. She had always prided herself on her ability to read people, to uphold the boutique's exclusive image, but now she understood how wrong she had been. She had misjudged a legend, someone who had built an empire, not just in film, but in business, and she had almost paid the price for it. Now, she had a second chance, and she wasn't going to waste it. The first day of training arrived, and the entire staff gathered in the back office. A corporate trainer had been brought in, and Catherine wasted no time setting the tone. This isn't just about customer service, she told the group. This is about changing how we see people, about making sure this store welcomes everyone, regardless of appearances. Serena listened intently, absorbing every word. She had always assumed that high-end clientele meant exclusivity, but Clint had made one thing clear. Professionalism meant treating every customer with dignity. The training was more than just basic etiquette. It dove deep into topics Serena had never truly considered before: unconscious bias, empathy, and the psychology of customer interactions. One exercise hit her the hardest. The trainer split them into pairs and assigned them different customer profiles. Serena was given the role of an elderly man in a worn-out suit, walking into the boutique to buy a luxury watch. Her partner? Maya. Maya played the role of a sales associate who had to decide how to treat the customer. As the scenario played out, Serena watched as Maya hesitated, just for a second, before deciding to ignore her and focus on a younger, better-dressed shopper instead. It was a gut punch. Serena felt her face burn with shame. That's exactly what I did to Clint. The realization settled like a heavy stone in her chest. After the exercise, the trainer turned to Serena. "How did that feel?" She swallowed hard. "Awful." The trainer nodded. "Remember that, because that's how every dismissed customer feels, and one of them might just be the person who owns the store." The words stung, but Serena needed to hear them. The next few weeks were a test. Every time a customer walked in, whether they were dressed in designer suits or in casual jeans and sneakers, Serena made a conscious effort to greet them with the same level of warmth and professionalism. And she noticed something unexpected. Sales increased. Customers lingered longer. Even the employees, once distant, began to follow her lead. The store was changing, and for the first time in years, Serena felt proud of what she was building. Then, one afternoon, the doorbell chimed. Serena looked up and froze. Clint Eastwood had returned. This time, he wasn't wearing his MAGA hat. He was dressed in his usual understated style, casual but confident, the kind of presence that commanded respect without demanding it. But this time, Serena wasn't afraid. She walked up to him, her nerves steady, and greeted him with a genuine smile. "Good afternoon, Mr. Eastwood. It's nice to see you again. How can I assist you today?" Clint studied her for a moment, as if testing whether her change in attitude was real or just for show. Then, slowly, he smiled. "Just looking around," he said. But there was something in his voice. Approval. As he browsed the store, Catherine approached Serena and whispered, "You've come a long way." Serena nodded, but she knew her journey wasn't over. It was just beginning. As Clint prepared to leave, he turned to Serena one last time. "I respect the way you handled this," he said. "It takes a lot to face a mistake and grow from it." Serena felt a wave of relief wash over her. This wasn't just about her job, it was about becoming a better person. Before he stepped out the door, Clint gave her one final piece of advice. "Remember, Serena, sometimes the people you least expect can teach you the most important lessons." And with that, he was gone. Serena stood there, his words echoing in her mind. She had learned the hardest lesson of her life, but now she had the chance to do something meaningful with it, and she wasn't going to waste it.